everybody, and welcome to my video today. We're going to jump back into my Project Life album. This is my Project Life weekly video that I like to share with you and just show you where I'm at with my Project Life album. The very beginning of the video, I'm going to show some product and some organization that I do with the current product that I use. This is a part of the system that I have in place to stay on top of this album. I wanted to share that. I'll have a timestamp in the video, so if you just want to get to the Project Life album part, then you can skip to that part. I just showed you a couple dividers that are in these two containers. I just made those dividers with thicker cardstock or like chipboard, and then I added some washi tape to the top of those dividers just so I could identify them a little bit better. These are two containers. I actually got them on Amazon, and they are meant for like a sock drawer or your underwear drawer. They can divide like your bras or your socks or your underwear, and you like put them in a drawer. So they're not, the structure of them looks a little bit flimsy. Like the divider parts are not by any means very stable. I use them to divide up my current Project Life items that I'm using. So right here are some extra cards that I have in this one pocket that I saw and I liked and I wanted to pull out so that I remember to use them. The very back of this first one has cards that I designed. So these are some of my latest Life Lately cards that I've designed. I keep extra of those in the back. And the very front where those dividers are all of my Ali Edward current product. And I'm going to show you and when I open up my Ali Edwards package what some of that product looks like. And then in the second one, I have extra photos. These are some items that need to go into an album. I also have my white label pieces that go to my Avery Index labels. So these sit on my desk right in front of my Project Life album, and it's what I pull from to use first. So I have subscribed to Ali Edwards for a long time. I love her product. Most of the product you see that I use in my memory keeping is actually from Ali Edwards. She has a story kit, a story theme kit, and then she has stories by the month. I used to get the story themed like embellishment kit and the stamp set and stories by the month. I currently just get the stamp set from the stories, from the story theme, and then I get the stories by the month. A lot of this product I'm using in my personal Project Life album, which I share with my membership community. It is a more of a personal well, it's exactly what it is, a personal Project Life album. So it has more personal stories in it. I also filter some of these products into my Project Life album. You'll see some of those items, particularly these, not so much the cards because I'm using older Project Life core kits this year, but some of the die cut items or the chipboard items. So for June, I'm going through and I'm pulling out all of the products that I feel like I will more than likely use in my personal album or things that will make it into my Project Life album. I'm pulling those up, setting those aside, and I will put those in that container you saw. And then the rest of it, I will just filter and put away into, where it belongs in my chipboard or in my Project Life cards. So here was something that I was like, okay, this is so weird. There's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. There's no Wednesday. There's no Saturday and Sunday. I really did not get that part. And then I don't love that the June 3 things is on vellum. However, I also get the digital kit for $5. I always add that as an add-on. So I have all of these cards and I will just print out a June 3. In fact, I'll probably just be able to do my journaling right on top of that card and I won't have to attach it anyway. And then I'll just save that for next year or something. So here are the 4x6 cards. And again, I'm just pulling those out. And then any of the ones that I feel like I'm not going to use, I set aside and then I will put away. If they are month specific, here's the Wednesday card, and I'll show that in just a minute. If they are month specific, like that says June stories, and I'm not going to use that, I will put it in my June, in that month's organization bin. So here's Wednesday. So there's 4 vellum pieces and then 1 regular cardstock. Again, I don't love that. I don't know what the thought process behind that was. So if it is just like where it says this week, that's not very month specific. I can just put that into my regular chipboard. So then I will set the word phrase stickers aside as well. I will leave the chipboard until I get to June, to doing anything with June. And then any of the chipboard that I don't use, I will put up. And then I will also open up these die cuts. These are what I really love this year. I think they're fabulous. And you're going to see that I use them quite a bit, just the ones that I've had throughout the last few months in this month's spread when we jump into that. So I will put that into that organizational container that you saw, and then when I get to June, I will have these to use. So I really enjoy Ali Edwards products. It is why I continue to get them. I love her stamp sets. We're going to use quite a few stamp sets today as I stamp out the March calendar. And so I really enjoy getting her product, and I will continue to, as long as I continue to love it and use it. So we're going to jump right into my album here now. I am working on getting caught up. This is part of what I always like to say: when you have a system, it becomes very easy to dive right back in. I knew that I was going to need to stamp my March calendar. And the other thing that I knew is that I probably was not going to go back. I looked through my photos and realized I didn't really have much to add as far as March inserts. So I'm going to take all of this product out, and then I'm going to just put those inserts into the back of my album to use in other months, because I just realized it's not worth trying to fill those pockets when I don't really have the photos, and I can just move on. The other thing that I'm going to do, since we are getting close to going into June, is I'm going to remove all my extra page protectors, and then I'm going to remove July through December, and we're going to put all of that into my second album for the year. My album is filling up here, and I actually don't need all of this stuff now in the back of my album. Some of it I keep in the back in the very beginning of the year so that my album is a little bit more bulky and things aren't getting bent. But as it starts to fill up, I can switch all of that. So I did. I just put all of that stuff I took out into my second album. And then I'm going to finish up March. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to set aside everything for April. And then I want to finish up my March calendar, because really that's the last part of March and I want to get that finished. So I'm going to take you along for all of the stamping that I'm going to do for March. At first, I looked at some of the die cuts to see if there was anything else that I wanted to add. I felt like my paper on the bottom, that strip on the bottom, was crooked, but I think maybe it was just from the way I had the calendar sitting on my desk. These are the 4 most recent stamp sets, so we're going to do some stamping. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just look at what I have going. So if you are brand new to my channel and you've never seen me do a calendar, or you don't know what this is about, I have a calendar in the beginning of each month for my project life. I've done this for decades. As long as I've had a project lifestyle album, I've done a calendar. And it is meant as a extra kind of fun piece. I'm not putting down every single thing that goes on during the month. I'm jotting down some notes. The original idea that this came from was when I had kids, when I had babies, I would jot down their milestones, and it was this really fun way to look back at our album and see like when they rolled over, when they had, you know, their first tooth, or if they were teething, or it was just this really cool way to look back at like some milestones that had happened. And then I continued to carry that through, and I've done it since. It works for two things. It works to jot down those notes, maybe, you know, a dentist appointment that I'm probably not going to document. I'm probably not going to take a photo of myself at the dentist and have some big story about it, right? It's just this life thing that happens. But it gives me a way to jot that down, and it shows an overview of our month. This month we had spring break in March, so that will go on there. And then on the flip side, I use it as either a place to have an 8.5 by 11 layout, like a traditional layout. I use it as a pocket to hold extra kind of memorabilia from the month if we get a card, or if Kayla's in a drama production and there is a program, like I'll stick that in there. Or you're going to see the last couple months, what I've done is I've put my journaling on the back of the calendar, and that has worked out really nice. Last year, I started thinking about, why don't I decorate these calendars more? Like, why am I not using my stamps, or using, you know, embellishments that I have, or doing something more with them? I used to just jot down the information and that was it. So last year I started doing a lot of stamping on these, and it's really fun. So I'm taking my most recent 4 stamp sets that I have from Allie Edwards that I've left out, and I'm using those. I'm using some ink from Concord and Ninth that just happened to match, you know, the best for the core kit that I'm using. In March, I used the Clementine core kit. So the colors I'm using: an orange, a blue, a yellow. It doesn't come out yellow on the camera, like on screen, but it is actually yellow. That honeycomb color is actually a beautiful yellow. And then I'm using the color Dove, which is a gray from Concord and Ninth, which match the kit. So all I'm doing is I'm just looking at the stamp sets that I have, and I'm placing some stamps around. Now, you could do this one of two ways. You can do it this way, where I'm just adding the stamps. These are brand new stamps, so when I'm rubbing them on my hand like that, I'm just getting that coating. There is usually a kind of slicker coating on brand new stamps that are photopolymer like this, or acrylic type stamps, these clear stamps. So I'm just rubbing that coating off, and it allows the ink to soak into the stamp a little bit better, and then you get a clearer image. So that's what I'm doing with the stamps. And then I'm just placing some of these phrases around. So around here was the first one I stamped. Then I stamped enjoy. This one that I have here that I did some repeat stamping, and I did it in a different orientation. That one says, I think it says in this season. And I just stamped once, and then that's the dark ink, and then I immediately stamped it down again, which made it light, and I did that in that box right there. And it worked out great, because the week that we had spring break, I actually didn't stamp anything in that row, so it was really nice. I'm gonna add some washi tape at the end to mark out when we had spring break. But what I'm doing is just trying to sprinkle some of these different sayings and different styles of stamps. I'm just trying to sprinkle them around the page. And then I've also, I've added like embellishments to this, or chipboard, enamel dots, like really anything that you're using in your normal documenting or projects you could use on the calendar. And it is just this fun element. Your Project Life album is about your life. So adding things like this is a really fun way to just have another thing in your album that is showcasing your life. And one of the things that I love about Project Life is the different page protectors and the different sizes and how they layer together. And you have this whole experience when you're flipping through a pocket page type album, where you have all these different layers and different sizes. It is also why I add traditional layouts to my album, is because it just gives you this really fun adventure when you're flipping through them. And we do flip through our albums. I rotate albums into our living room, room, and I also work them into my home decor. In the summertime, I display all of my week in the life albums as part of my home decor. I set them out. And then in December, I do the same for our December daily albums. They're part of my Christmas decor. They're all over the house, and I encourage people to look through them. Our Project Life albums I rotate out, and I have a space in our living room where I set them out so that they can be flipped through and looked at. So here's the calendar. I will do all of the writing of all of the different things. I will do that off camera so you don't have to watch me just jot down notes. But here is that calendar finished. You can see that I've added some notes. If there is ever a space where I want a note that happened on a certain day and I have already put a stamp there or an embellishment, you see I just indicate that by adding a little arrow that says this happened on this day. So then that is pretty much March. So you see that March has no inserts. It just has the one calendar insert, and that is it. So then we're going to jump into April, and I'm going to finish up the inserts in April and finish up my journaling. I will do all of the embellishing and all of the extra stuff. I will do that probably next week. This took me about 55 minutes to wrap up March and then get the rest of the stuff in April, and that's about the time that I had this week to do that. So I will do the rest of the stuff next week, and we'll see that. So here is my journaling. Something that I'm doing different this year with my journaling is I'm doing journaling throughout the month. So I just keep this document on my desktop on my computer, and I can access it from my office, or I can access it from my laptop anywhere else in the house. I keep this document set up, I break it up into weeks, and then I do the journaling throughout the month. And this has been a game changer for me. So I used to approach my journaling where I would wait. It would be like the last thing that I would do. I would get my photos for the month, I would drop them in, and then I would figure out like, okay, where do I want to put my journaling? Do I want to put it in the 3x4 cards down the middle? Do I need to put it on top of photos? It was always this thing, right, that really held me back. And I maybe wouldn't do as much journaling, or I would get to that process where I would be ready to journal and I just wouldn't feel like it. Or the other thing that would happen is I would wait until my album, was complete, my first album, January through June. And then I would do all of the journaling, and it was super stressful because I'm not great at journaling. It's not my favorite thing to do. I'm not great at it. I don't have a lot to say about a lot of things. And so there was all of this pressure. So now I just do it throughout the month. I have that document on my computer. I, sometimes at the end of the week, or, maybe halfway through the week or the beginning of the very next week, I will just jot down what has happened during our week. And the other thing that this is helping with is there's little details that you tend to forget as time goes on, right? The little details of life. And those are the things that I really love being able to put into my album. And I'm finding that those little details, things that the kids say, or conversations that we have, or just different things that I don't always remember, a month in or 2 months later, are getting put in the journaling. And then the stress of doing the journaling is completely done. I just print that out, and then I just figure out where I want to place it. In the beginning of the year, I did it in a 6x12 page protector. The last couple of months, I have just done it on the back of the calendar page, which is kind of nice because the calendar is an overview of our month, and then the journaling's right on the back, and that's kind of nice. So the other thing that I want to chat about this week is letting the creativity lead the way. So yes, I have a set of products that I leave out on my desk that I'm pulling from, but I never decide how I'm going to do a month before the month starts. So this is a perfect example. In April, I didn't really have an idea of what I was going to do. I had some product, obviously from Ellie Edwards, that is sitting on my desk that I can pull from. The colors look great. This is working. I had that Hello April that was in a circle. And that sparked some creativity for me. That sparked the idea of using circles in the month of April. And you're going to see that next month when I do all of the embellishing and I do when I really work on the photos, and adding some extra things to that and wrapping up April. You're going to see that I lean in to the circle theme. And that is because that Hello April sparked that idea. That was the moment I was like, oh, maybe I could do something with circles. And I have a lot of circle punches, and maybe this would work. So I like to let my creativity lead me. I have so many products, right? Like I have so many inks and stamps and embellishments and core kits, and I have all of this stuff that can be so overwhelming. It's great to have all the things, right? But then it's like you can feel very overwhelmed by like, well, then what do I do? What do I get out to use? I'm going to use this. I'm going to use that. Oh, that doesn't match. How do I make this match? How do I make this work? And instead of looking at all your product and being like, well, I want to use X, Y, and Z, let your creativity lead you. Start to work on something. Maybe have a set of product. Like I always start with a core kit. Like this year, I'm starting with a core kit. In years past, I've started with a pattern paper. So have a starting point and then allow creativity to lead you. Get in here, start to do something, and then if something sparks an idea, run with it, go with it, see how it goes. So next week, you will see that I am going to lean heavy into circles, and I'm going to look through my stamps maybe and see what I can stamp that's in a circle, or I will get my circle punches out and see how I can use that. And I will really let that lead me. The core kit that I'm using for April is the Currently core kit. Oh, right here, I am just plugging in my camera. So I'll plug that in, it'll stop shaking, and we'll jump right to the next scene. Here we go. My battery was dying. And so I'm using the Currently core kit, which is definitely an older core kit. That's my goal this year, is to use all older core kits. I pulled out this pattern paper from Stampin' Up. It's just a basic, it has polka dots on one side and then it has some text on the other side. And then I'm trimming down all of my cards because they are rounded corners. That's how older core kits are, and I don't want them to be rounded. If I have rounded corners, then I want everything to be rounded corners throughout my whole album. If I don't have rounded corners, then I don't want anything to be rounded. I basically just want everything to match. So then I had wanted to use this card that had this little mini camera on it, but I didn't want to use the whole card. So I'm going to lightly fussy cut around it to see if it's going to work in this spot, because I thought I could add it to this other core kit. And then if that is going to work, I will fussy cut it a little bit better. I'll trim it down a little bit better here in just a minute. And then the other color of cardstock or cardstock item that I'm using for backing the cards is just plain black cardstock. So I will put that there, and then I will put a couple of cards here. Now what I want to do here is just mix up the patterns of cards. So I have already put my Currently core kit away. All I did was pull out a few cards that I knew that I would need for finishing up the month of April. So I just want to space these designs out. You see I have a blue polka dot one here. The pink polka dot can be seen right there. And then the orange, I think I end up changing out the orange card when I add an embellishment to that. So I'm just basically spreading those out. I don't necessarily need a spot for journaling. So these spots here that I'm doing are just going to be for embellishments. I'm going to use the story half circle cards right there. They are a darker pink. Those are the Ali Edwards product, and they're a darker pink than what the core kit is, but it's going to be fine. And I love that half circle. This is where I was like, I really want to lean into the circles, and I'm just loving that. I love circles as an embellishment for anything, really. And so I just decided to lean into that and use it. And I love being able to use up my product. One of the things that makes me so happy is when I can use something up and it's complete, it's done. Like using up all the die cuts or using up all of an enamel dot sheet or something like that. It just is so satisfying to actually be using the product that we're purchasing. I know it's so fun, buying the new product, and I'm always up for a good shopping trip of fun stuff. But when you actually are diving in and using it, it's really nice. Now, this is on the background of this camera is white, and it's going onto a white card. So I actually don't need to like be real precise or perfect with this. But that's something else that I want to suggest to you is to take these cards. A lot of times when you get pocket cards, project lifestyle cards, you get multiples of a design, and think outside of the box and cut them up. There's lots of times that I cut cards up from Ali Edwards. I will get them, my monthly kit, and there'll be something that is like these 3 things, or there'll be a card that has 1 through 6 on it, and I will cut that up and then be able to use it in a different way. So the possibilities are really endless. And then you can make different style pocket cards. You can also use pocket cards in traditional layouts. You will see a lot of my traditional layouts utilize pocketed cards. Sometimes I think we get, maybe stressed out by the way something is supposed to be used, and we forget that we can use it any way we want. I love the AM story, PM story, and adventure die cut above the journaling. I think that turned out really nice and really fun. Again, the colors they match well enough. I think that the AM, PM circle stories would have been really great in March in the Clementine, with the Clementine core kit. But again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's fun, and nobody's gonna care. Nobody's gonna open this album up and be like, that didn't match, right? That's what I have come back to again and again recently, is that the things that I worry about, nobody else is worrying about. So here is one of the die cut pieces. I trimmed off the very end of it in like a little slant, and then I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller as well and snip it off the end here. And then I think, if I have not already done so, I clean up the edge of that photo. This is my flip out. So this is my birthday insert, and I have a couple flip ups, and I'm going to add a few things to that. I will probably also maybe do a little bit of journaling or some hand journaling on some of these pieces. I haven't really decided yet. I did do quite a bit of journaling for that week, the week of my birthday. Like, I did document most of what happened, but documenting the facts of something, like this is what we did. We went out to breakfast. We those types of things, that's different than documenting feelings. And so I might do a little bit of hand journaling that is more my feelings of the day or the moment or my thoughts, and not so much fact-based. I'm also going through a couple of these die cuts and just seeing if it makes sense for any of these to go on any of these pages. I have my birthday insert, and then I have the, there's a flower like outside insert that I added. And then there is a awards night for Kayla. That is an insert. And then the very back of that is just everyday type of photos. I needed a couple extra spaces. So you can see in March, I didn't take a lot of photos. There were no inserts really to put into March. But then in April, I did a ton of photo taking, and I had several inserts for the month. And I think that just happens. That's worth just remembering or understanding that there's an ebb and flow to photo taking and to documenting. And some months, you're going to be in that mode of remembering to take photos, and, or maybe there's a lot going on. This month has been crazy with all of the end of the school things that are happening. And there's a lot of different photos that are being taken. In April, I just was in that space where I was taking photos. I was just snapping photos like crazy. And so, but in March I didn't. And there are times in the summertime, like June, July, sometimes there's not as many photos to take because there's not a lot going on. And then the week that I usually do week in the life, I usually don't have a lot of other photos for that month because I was very focused on taking photos and I get kind of burnt out. So there's an ebb and a flow to your, you know, taking photos and documenting your life, which is totally fine. So I'll just finish adding these cards and then a few other embellishments. Again, I just had some stuff sitting on my desk and I wanted to see what would work. My main goal for this day was to just get all of my photos in, figure out March, because I was feeling a little stressed that March was feeling still a little incomplete and that I needed photos printed. And I did that. And then all of April's stuff is in. I'm so glad I was able to use those cards that I had pulled out. And then I will put away the rest of them. I had a couple stickers here. Now, I usually don't use these tab stickers because I just don't feel like they stay the best. I feel like once you put them on a photo, it's like they're just not, this adhesive, I guess, I feel like isn't strong enough. But I just saw somebody recently staple them once they put them on, and I was like, oh, that's how I could use it. So I am going to use these. It just says this, and I wanted to indicate that this is a flip up, because when you do these flip ups, sometimes you can't tell that it is it's a flip up. You need something to indicate to flip that piece up. Now, there was already an Avery Index tab on that insert, and I use the 2-inch Avery Index tabs. And because of that, those are a little bit big, I feel like, to add to a flip up. So these tab stickers are a perfect size. Now, you could create something like this with pattern paper, and it doesn't have to be like rounded corners. If you have a corner rounder, you could round the corner to them, but you could create this with a piece of pattern paper or even just a piece of white cardstock and then stamp a sentiment on there. You could do that as well. So I accidentally tore my adhesive. I picked up my ATG gun and I tore the adhesive, so I just had to fix that. But you can see right there that I stapled this to the edge, and then that is an indication that that can be flipped up. So I just press that down really well, and then I do 2 staples in it. Now, my staple gun ran out of staples, or will run out of staples at some point, and I'll have to fix that. Add more staples to it. But that is a perfect indication that there's a little flip up, and then also people don't touch the photos and get fingerprints on your photos. That's like my little Monica moment of like, don't touch the photo. Oh, right here. So I add a tab. I'm going to do that to both. Just to use these stickers. They're out on my desk, and I thought it would be great to add it. Again, I could add a little bit of hand journaling. I like to do both. I like to add hand journaling and typed out journaling, so I could do that if I wanted to. I'm gonna fix my stapler and then add a single staple to that. And then that is the way that April is looking. So I'm feeling like I'm in really good shape. We're in the month of May, almost towards the end of May, and I will be setting up May. So that will be good. In June, I am thinking about doing, for Project Life Weekly, really showcasing the album I'm doing for Kayla and how I am getting all of that finished. And so you might see that in the month of June. As we move into June, I might do a mini series of kids albums and getting started with that. We'll see, but I'm feeling better about where I'm at with my album. March is finished. April is finished. We'll add some embellishments to April and we will call it good. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Here are 2 other videos that you can check out if you are interested. please hit the subscribe button, or at least like the video if you liked the content, so YouTube will be nice to me. And always remember that I have a documenting community. I have a membership that you can join if you want more memory keeping content. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.